So we're ready to start.
Anyway, yes, thank you. Yes, for starters, please let me say hello to everyone. I've been collaborating with Formula Student Russia since 2019. Then pandemic and other things prevented me to come over again to judge on site, but I always been honored and pleased to collaborate behind the scene with Andrei and Olga and other people. So I'm particularly happy to be here and share with you an interesting experience that I made this year. I will start sharing my screen. This year, I also have the chance to judge at the Formula Student Alpe Adria, a fantastic event which is held in Croatia. And okay, Kumar just talk about cost understanding and the cost documents. I would also, on the contrary, to talk about another aspect of the cost event, which is the real case. Because this year, I think that I discovered the real case as an opportunity, an interesting opportunity to think outside the box. I think you know what this means, but I will give you an explanation. Thinking outside the box means to face the real life challenges with an unconventional or broader mindset, leading to original, unpredictable, and higher value outcomes, probably not achievable through conventional thinking. The real case scenario had been excluded by Formula Student Germany from the rulebook in 2017, and then it's been restored last year. It is managed autonomously by each Formula Student venue. Every Formula Student venue set their own application rules. Is it clear to you?
Yes, it's clear.
Just to show how this autonomy in different venues is actuated in formulas in a real case scenario, I will give you 3 examples. So in Formula Student Germany, the challenge of the real case is published 1 month before the event. In Italy, 1 week before. In Formula Student Alpe Adria, only 1 day. So it means that in Germany, you have all the time to focus on the concepts, in-depth analysis, and to check consistency of the data and the thesis that you sustain. In Formula Student Italy, you have to focus on an idea and the numbers. In Formula Student Alpe Adria, with just 1 day, you are forced to focus on numbers and quick reaction. We will see what happens, okay, in the next few slides. But in general, as you can see, there is not one hypothesis that is better, and another that is worse. All these 3 challenges, these different advances are useful because it's what happens in the real life when you work in a company, okay? So for example, for some challenges, you will have 1 month to do the job. In others, you will have just 1 week. And in other situation, you will have to do something in a very, very short time. So all the 3 situations are very useful and very educational. The challenge of the real case at Formula Student Alpe Adria this year was this one. What is the social return on the investment for your Formula Student project? So it's a very, very difficult question. And I have to confess that also for the judges, it was not easy to judge all the presentation made by the students. But the main question goes around this topic. What value does your project create in society? So, and just consider that the teams had just one day to do it. Okay, so there is some to the job is to focus on the possibility to face this difficult question by thinking outside the box. I have the chance to judge different teams, but one of them did an absolutely outstanding job, and they really impressed me for their ability to explore such a complex problem with a wide range of solutions that went far beyond the normal answer that I could expect. This BME Motorsport is a team from Budapest, Hungary. Okay. What did they do? They started with just design a clear logical process. So who is impacted by the investment? They started, this team started designing the process, which is fundamental to do the job. So they asked themselves who are impacted by the investment or in a Formula student team, and they then define the valuable changes indicator, etc. Okay, I will not focus on these details, but I've been impressed by what you will see in the next slide. I just pointed out that the aesthetic of their job was extremely essential, because when you have a very, very short time to do things, you have to focus on the contents. Okay. But okay, let's go ahead. If we had the chance to be there with you, now I will take a pause to ask you, the student, what kind of answer would you have given, imagine, about the effects, the social effects of a Formula student team? One thing that I can see is that most of the teams that I could judge just mentioned typical effects that everyone can imagine. For example, better visibility for the sponsors or for the university, or for example, better engineers on the market, because we know that Formula students create better engineers. Okay, and when take part to this kind of experience, you become a better engineer that you would be if you didn't do it. Okay, and that's quite easy to imagine. But for example, there is much more, and the BME Motorsport, these guys from Budapest, identified a much larger list of people impacted. For example, team members, suppliers, friends, and family. OTB means outside the box. Okay, so it's not about just you and your team and your university and sponsors. Also, your friends and family are affected by your experience, for example. So a further step was mapping the effects. So virtually all the teams underline the positive aspect of working on a Formula student project. But this team from Budapest went far beyond and identifying also problems, because the effects produced by a Formula student experience is not just positive. There are also some negative effects. For example, it's an exhausting experience for many students. dedicating night hours to doing the job, in the using an unhealthy lifestyles like cigarettes, alcohol, caffeine. So it's quite nice that also they identify even these kind of effects. Extra electric bill for the university, lack of sponsor if you don't get the result, etc. Less time together with friends and families. So it's an experience that you all do if you do Formula students properly. Okay, so these are other example of thinking outside the box. They were the only teams that I could check who did such an analysis. Okay, the further step they did is to find creative criteria to transform a human effect, a social effect, into numbers, into a cost, or into a proceeding in which a positive revenue. Okay, so costing activity that are not subject to billing, to document, to calculation is quite complex, and they require once again a creative approach to define the proper measurement unit. So unhealthy lifestyle, they less time together, they find a way to transform this cost. Now I will not focus on details because we don't have the time, and you will have the presentation for you when, as I told you before. But once again, I perceived a clearly mindset which gave unconventional answers to this kind of questions. So the first step is summarizing, because it's quite interesting, because if you have to measure different factors which are totally different from one another, finding a common measurement unit, a common code, is the only condition to sum them together. Okay, that's why they calculated and summed up all the positive aspects, all the negative ones, to define the total social benefit and the total cost, let's say. So dividing the social benefit for the cost gives you the social return on investment cost. Okay, so 1.65, okay, is a reasonable result, but what impressed me more is the way they calculated. Okay, so other teams arrived to very different result, and since it's about a social impact, there is not an objectively true or false way to measure it. Okay, so but in this case, the real challenge was not giving the right number here, but showing the best way to calculate it. And as I told you, in this case, this team has showed such an original, such an unconventional approach that really made me think that their job was by miles the best that I had seen in this event. And just consider that this Formula Student Alpe Adria is now a very important event with a lot of excellent teams from all Europe taking part, from Germany, from Italy, from Austria, etc. So the competition was highly valuable, but this team from Budapest, okay, impressed me much more than the others. So Conclusions. With only 24 hours available, this team did an outstanding job thanks to this unconventional thinking, showing a broad-minded approach who led them to take into consideration many more aspects than the rest of the competition did, which included some of the best European teams. To be really honest, I don't have examined all the real case produced by all the teams, but from a qualitative point of view, this report, this big real case, has really impressed me, as I told you. Another important conclusion, thinking outside the box is a particularly effective method when the time available for a certain job is short. So the less time you have to think, to make some decision, to do some job in your university, but also in your professional life, this kind of approach is extremely useful to generate a lot of ideas in a short time. So it's something that I really advise you to train on. Take information about this kind of approach. My advice is, as I told you, to train on this. Become expert of thinking outside the box, because it will benefit you for the rest of your life. The real case is a very educational practice itself, because forces you to pass from theory to practice. But it becomes particularly precious if seen as a good training to think outside the box. So my invitation is, if for the students of you, I hope all of you, but I'm not sure, that will keep in Formula students also next year, my particular advice is consider the real case, try to face the challenge of the real case using this kind of approach. Keep it in your memory to start training on it. Of course, next year you will have different questions to answer, but one thing that you can do, for example, is to learn the different real case challenge of different European event of 2023, Germany, Italy, okay, Alpe Adria, you have already seen it, but also, I don't know, England, etc., to train on them. So, in order to be better prepared for next year real case scenario, okay, you will see very different answers, very different questions from one event to another, and that's very precious for you because you will learn much more things. But it also you can also see it as a useful opportunity to think outside the box, and this will become useful for the rest of your life. Now I just have to, before eventually being available for your question, if you have, please let me thank Formula Student Alpe Adria in the person of Clement Pongracis, which is member of the organizing body and cost manufacturing event leader, because he gave me the possibility and authorization to showcase all these documents coming from his event. And also the BME team for the availability to share the job they did for the real case scenario at Formula Student Alpe Adria 2023, and especially good to their former leader, Gabor Mandi, for his helpful commitment to contact the team. It's been a great experience, a great interaction I had with this team. And I'm really happy that the quality of their job can be useful for you all. Okay, so my presentation is over. And if you have any question, I'm here to answer.
Окей, thank you, Carlo. Так, вопросы для тех, кто все понял. Так понимаю, никаких вопросов нет, да? Okay, seems like no questions.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for your
I
presentation.
hope, yes, and all the best for the rest of your Formula Student School.
Thank you, Carlo.
Goodbye. До свидания. Спасибо большое.